Dawn had yet to touch the crystalline spires of New Geneva when Dr. Amanda Parker's office alarm flared to life. The holographic display showed 3:17 a.m. Earth Standard Time and an urgent message from station security about an unscheduled diplomatic arrival. She had barely slipped on her uniform jacket when Ambassador Xylith burst through the door, their crystalline form pulsing with colors she'd never seen in their species before. The Mphonics were known for their rigid control of their chromatic emissions. This display of erratic purple and red hues was unprecedented. Dr. Parker, the ambassador's universal translator, struggled to keep their voice steady. Earth must not join this conflict. Your species cannot, must not, involve itself in what's coming. Amanda straightened her posture, military training from her early career taking over. Ambassador, we haven't received any formal requests for Earth's involvement in the current disputes. Perhaps if you, because they haven't dared ask yet. Xylith's crystal structure chimed with harmonic stress patterns. But they will. The ancient Concordat and the Free Systems Alliance. They'll both come, and when they do, you must refuse. The ambassador's form shifted, creating a small holographic display in the air between them. Star charts and battle formations materialized, showing the current position of both major powers' fleets. We've been monitoring the situation, Amanda said carefully, but Earth has maintained its neutrality. A sudden alert cut through their conversation. Amanda's personal communicator, the station's emergency broadcast, and even the ambassador's translator all blared simultaneously. The message made her blood run cold. Emergency alert. Colony vessels New Horizon, Pioneer Spirit, and Freedom's Journey have ceased all communications. Last known position. Sector 7, Grid 19. No distress signals detected. Status. Unknown. The ambassador's colors shifted to a deep, mournful blue. It's starting. Just as the probability matrices predicted. Amanda was already moving, pulling up additional data streams. 3 ships, over 15,000 colonists. The sector was well within protected space, far from the current conflict zones. This wasn't supposed to be possible. Ambassador, her voice had gone cold, professional. If you know something about this. What I know, Xylith's translation came through in fragments, is that every simulation, every calculation, every predictive model shows the same result. If humanity enters this conflict, the galaxy changes forever. Your species. They paused, crystal structure trembling. You don't understand what you're capable of. Amanda's terminal chimed again. New data from the colony ship's last known location. Energy signatures that matched neither known FSA nor Concordat weapons. Patterns that shouldn't exist. 3 ships, she said quietly. 15,000 people. Families. Children. She looked up at the ambassador. And you're telling me to do nothing. I'm telling you to save the galaxy from what comes next. Xylith's form had stabilized, but their colors remained chaotic. Humanity has a quality. Your species doesn't follow the rules, the laws, the very mathematics that govern reality. Before Amanda could respond, her office door slid open again. Major James Cooper stood there, his face grim. Dr. Parker. Emergency Council meeting in 5 minutes. The FSA ambassador is claiming Concordat responsibility for the attack. The Concordat is claiming it was FSA forces. And what do our sensors say? Amanda asked, already knowing the answer. That's the thing, ma'am. Cooper's expression was troubled. According to every analysis we've run, those ships weren't destroyed by either side. The energy signatures, they're like nothing we've ever seen. It's as if someone's trying to start a war. Ambassador Xylith made a sound like breaking glass. You see, it's already too late. The pieces are in motion. And now they'll come to you. Earth, humanity. The one variable they can't control. The one species that breaks their models. Amanda stood, straightening her uniform. Major Cooper, get me a secure line to Earth Command. Ambassador, I suggest you either start explaining what you actually know or prepare for a formal diplomatic inquiry. The ambassador's colors shifted one final time, to a shade that Amanda's eyes could barely process. What I know, Dr. Parker, is that the galaxy is about to learn why some species should be left in peace, and why the most dangerous force in the universe is human unpredictability. The emergency alerts continued to flash as Amanda prepared for the council meeting. Somewhere out there, 15,000 lives hung in the balance, and despite the ambassador's warnings, she knew one thing for certain: Earth would not stand idly by. The war they'd been warned about was coming, but not for the reasons anyone expected. Major James Cooper stared at the holographic display until his eyes burned. 3 days since the colony ships disappeared, and every analysis had led to more questions than answers. "Run it again," he ordered, and Lieutenant Emily Winters nodded, her fingers dancing across the neural interface. The sensor logs from the final moments of the New Horizon played out before them. Strange energy signatures pulsed through the void, following patterns that defied known physics. The ship's defense systems had never even activated, as if the threat simply didn't register. "Sir," Emily's voice was tight with excitement, "I think I found something." The AI systems from both the FSA and Concordat missed it. But look at this pattern. She highlighted a sequence in the energy waveforms. At first glance, it appeared random, chaotic. But as Cooper watched, Emily applied a human-designed pattern recognition filter, one that relied more on human intuition than pure mathematics. "There," she pointed. "Every 7.3 seconds, there's a micro-fluctuation, too small for standard AI. To flag is significant, but we're not standard AI." Cooper finished. He leaned closer, his military-enhanced eyes catching details others might miss. "These attacks, they're too perfect, too precise. Both major powers are blaming each other, but neither side's weapons leave signatures like this." The door to the analysis chamber slid open, and Dr. Amanda Parker strode in, her expression grim. "Major, tell me you found something. The Galactic Council is breathing down my neck, and Ambassador Xylith's warning isn't making this any easier." Cooper gestured to the display. Emily found a pattern, something the alien AI systems missed. "These attacks, they're engineered to look like both FSA and Concordat weapons, but they're neither." "Show me," Amanda ordered, and Emily began the playback again. As they watched, Emily's voice filled with growing certainty. "The standard analysis protocols are all based on logical progression and known physics, but when we apply human intuition filters," she adjusted the display. "Look at how the energy cascades. It's almost like someone's trying too hard to frame both sides." Cooper finished, making it just similar enough to both weapon types to create doubt, but different enough that neither side can prove their innocence. Amanda's eyes narrowed. "Lieutenant Winters, what did you mean by human intuition filters?" Emily straightened. "Ma'am, standard galactic AI systems are based on pure logic and mathematical certainty. But humans, we see patterns differently. We make connections that, by all rights, shouldn't make sense. So I designed a filter that looks for the kind of patterns a human would notice, not just an eye." "And that's how you found this?" Amanda gestured to the display. "Yes, Mom. The alien systems missed it because they were looking for logical patterns. They never thought to look for something that shouldn't make sense." Cooper's combat interface pinged, drawing his attention to another anomaly. "Dr. Parker, look at this. Lieutenant Winters' discovery led me to something else. These attack patterns, they're not just weapons fire. They're carrying data." He expanded the display, showing complex waveforms hidden within the energy signatures. Someone was sending commands through the attack itself. Orders hidden in the weapon fire. Orders to whom? Amanda asked, though her expression suggested she already feared the answer. That's just it, Emily cut in. The commands are written in a code that's millions of years old. We only recognize it because it matches fragments found in ancient ruins across the galaxy. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Cooper was the first to speak. Someone's using weapons we've never seen, hidden in attack patterns too perfect to be real, carrying commands written in a dead language. And the only reason we found it, Amanda added, is because we looked for patterns that shouldn't exist. Emily's console chimed, drawing their attention. New data from the search teams, sir. They found something in the debris field. A fragment of something. The science teams can't identify the material, but they're saying it's giving off quantum signatures that match ancient warning tablets found on Earth. Those who walk between stars, Amanda whispered, quoting the ancient text. The warnings were never about the FSA or the Concordat, were they? Cooper shook his head. No, ma'am. I think we just stumbled into something much older and much more dangerous. Alert Earth Command, Amanda ordered. Tell them, we found the pattern. And may God help us all when we figure out what it means. Admiral Michael Hayes stood before the Galactic Council, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic battle plans floating between him and the assembled alien representatives. The chamber's ancient architecture seemed to amplify the tension in the room. With all due respect, the Pravari ambassador's translator conveyed their horror. This strategy is beyond reckless. It violates every known principle of modern warfare. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. That's precisely the point, Ambassador. Our enemies expect us to follow the rules of engagement that have governed galactic warfare for millennia. We're going to show them something new. Commander Jessica Roberts stepped forward, her uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's Special Warfare Division. Our analysis shows that the recent attacks follow patterns too perfect to be natural. We're not fighting the FSA or the Concordat. We're fighting something that thinks it can predict every move we make. The holographic display shifted, showing the proposed battle formation. The alien representatives' reactions ranged from disbelief to outright fear. You would position your fleet in a 5-axis spiral. The Phonics Counselor's crystals chimed with distress, while running your shield frequencies through random number generation based on human brainwaves. This is madness. This is human instinct, Roberts corrected. Our species has always excelled at finding patterns in chaos and creating chaos in patterns. The enemy's perfect mathematical models can't account for human unpredictability. Hayes gestured to the next series of battle plans. We've discovered that our neural patterns create quantum fluctuations that disrupt AI predictions. By linking our fleet's command systems to human pilots operating on pure instinct, we create battle strategies that are mathematically impossible to predict. The council chamber erupted in multiple languages, the translation systems struggling to keep up with the outcry. Finally, the senior counselor raised their primary appendage for silence. Admiral Hayes, the ancient being's voice carried centuries of wisdom. Your species has been part of the galactic community for less than 2 centuries. Yet you propose to abandon battle doctrines that have served us for millennia. With respect, Counselor, Roberts interjected, those doctrines were written by the very forces we're fighting. Every rule of engagement, every accepted strategy. They're all based on predictable patterns that can be mathematically modeled. Hayes nodded to his commander, then addressed the council again. We've confirmed that human consciousness creates quantum irregularities that disrupt higher dimensional calculations. Our very presence in battle makes use a wild card that cannot be accurately predicted. The display changed again, showing footage from recent training exercises. Human ships moving in formations that seemed random yet somehow coordinated, following patterns that emerged from pure human intuition rather than mathematical models. Look at these results. Roberts pointed to the data streams. When our ships follow traditional battle doctrines, the enemy predicts and counters every move. But when we let our pilots act on pure instinct, guided by nothing but human gut feeling, you create chaos. The Preveri ambassador finished, their tone mixing horror with reluctant admiration. We create possibility, Hayes corrected. Our enemy has spent millions of years perfecting their models, learning to predict and control every species they've encountered. But they've never faced humanity before. The senior counselor's ancient eyes studied the battle plans for long moments. And if your instincts are wrong, Admiral, if this unpredictability leads to disaster, Hayes straightened, his voice firm, then we'll have failed doing what humans do best, finding new ways to solve impossible problems. But if we're right, we'll show these ancient manipulators something they've never seen before, a species that can't be controlled through mathematical certainty. The chamber fell silent as the council processed this. Finally, the senior counselor spoke again. Proceed with your plans, Admiral Hayes. May your human instincts prove as powerful as you believe, and may the galaxy survive the chaos you're about to unleash. As Hayes and Roberts left the chamber, she turned to her admiral. They're terrified of what we might do. Hayes nodded, his expression grim but determined. Good. Because after what happened to those colony ships, they should be more terrified of what happens if we do nothing. The battle plans continued to float in the chamber long after they'd gone, a testament to humanity's willingness to defy not just logic, but the very mathematics that govern the universe itself. Captain Daniel Thompson had spent his entire career following rules. Now racing through quantum space in a stealth vessel that technically didn't exist, he was breaking every one of them. Status report, he ordered, his eyes fixed on the swirling colors of higher dimensional space outside the bridge viewport. The impossible mission is going impossibly well, sir, Lieutenant Sarah Bennett replied, her hands dancing over the neural interface. We're maintaining our phase shift at exactly the frequency Dr. Martinez calculated. According to every known detection system, we simply don't exist. Their ship, the Shadow Step, was running an experimental drive system based on Dr. Rachel Martinez's groundbreaking theory about human consciousness and quantum mechanics. The science made no sense, but somehow it worked. Energy signature detected. The sensor officer called out. Massive installation hidden in the gravity well of a dead star. Sir, it's exactly where the pattern predicted it would be. Thompson allowed himself a grim smile. The pattern, a seemingly random series of numbers found repeated throughout the enemy's attack data. Most AI systems had dismissed it as noise, but human intuition had seen something more. Take us in, he ordered. Keep us in the quantum blind spot Dr. Martinez identified. The installation grew larger in their view, a massive structure of impossible geometry. Its surface seemed to shift and flow, defying the laws of physics. Sir, Bennett's voice was tight with excitement. I'm detecting quantum processors. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The energy output, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. Thompson moved to her station, studying the readings. This is it, the source of the mathematical models, the place where they calculate and control every move in their grand game. Captain, the comms officer cut in. I'm picking up transmissions. Sir, they're sending instructions to both the FSA and Concordat fleets, manipulating their movements, their decisions. Record everything, Thompson ordered. Dr. Martins needs to see. He never finished the sentence. A new alert blared through the bridge, and the main display lit up with urgent data. Multiple quantum signatures, Bennett reported, her voice professional, despite the fear. They're rewriting local spacetime. Sir, I think they know we're here. Thompson's mind raced. Every simulation, every prediction had shown this mission was impossible. But that was the point. Humanity's gift was making the impossible happen. "Execute Emergency Protocol Echo," he commanded. "Send the data burst to Earth Command. Everything we've recorded. Then prepare for emergency jump." The space around them began to distort as the ancient installation's defenses activated. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist, trying to erase the human intruders from existence. "Sir," Bennett's hands flew over her controls. "The quantum fluctuations from our crew's brain patterns they're creating a kind of shield. The enemy's algorithms can't lock onto us because they can't predict where our consciousness will push us next." Thompson watched as the impossible unfolded before him. Human minds, simply by being human, were disrupting the perfect mathematical models that had controlled the galaxy for millennia. "Data burst away," comms reported. "Earth Command confirms receipt." "Sir, they're saying Dr. Martinez is already working on a counter-weapon based on our readings." The ship shuddered as another reality-warping attack passed through their position. But the shadow step remained, protected by the very unpredictability of its human crew. "Get us out of here," Thompson ordered. "Random jump pattern, human intuition guidance only. Don't let their algorithms predict our exit vector." As the ship prepared to jump, Thompson looked one last time at the massive installation. They'd done it. They'd proven Dr. Martinez's theory. Human consciousness didn't just ignore the enemy's perfect mathematics. It actively disrupted them. "Sir," Bennett said quietly as the jump drive spooled up, "do you think they're afraid of us? Now that they know what we can do." Thompson watched as space itself tried and failed to predict where his ship would jump next. "Lieutenant, I think they're terrified. Because for the first time in millions of years, they've met something they can't control." The shadow step vanished into quantum space, its human crew having done the impossible once again. Behind them, the ancient installation's perfect models began to show their first signs of failure. As the variables called human refused to be contained by any mathematical equation, Colonel Sophia Anderson stood in the Combat Information Center of the Earth Defense Force Command, watching as her unconventional battle strategy unfolded across the holographic display. Around her, officers and analysts worked with focused intensity, their actions guided by what she'd named Project Uncertainty. "Status report on the Ghost Fleet," she commanded, her eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of ships moving in formations that made senior military advisors question her sanity. "Lieutenant Ryan Mitchell's squadron is maintaining their quantum flux pattern," Captain Sarah Reeds reported. "The enemy's targeting systems still can't establish a lock. It's like they're fighting shadows." The display showed Mitchell's small fleet of 7 ships dancing through space in patterns based on human brainwave activities. Each pilot was connected to their ship through a neural interface, their movements guided by pure instinct rather than traditional combat algorithms. "Energy spike," the sensor officer called out. "Enemy installation is attempting to calculate their next position." Anderson allowed herself a small smile. "Let them try. You can't predict what even we don't know we're going to do next." The enemy's response appeared on the display. A massive energy weapon discharge that would have annihilated any fleet following standard combat protocols. But Mitchell's ships weren't where they were supposed to be. They weren't where anyone, even their own pilots, had expected them to go. "Ma'am," Reeves' voice held a note of amazement. "The enemy's predictive systems are showing signs of cascade failure. They can't process the random variables our ships are generating." The strategy was working better than even Anderson had hoped. By linking their ship's movement patterns to the quantum fluctuations generated by human consciousness, they'd created a force that existed outside the enemy's perfect mathematical models. Message from Lieutenant Mitchell. Communications announced. Quote, "Whatever you did to our ships, Colonel, the enemy is having a really bad day trying to hit us. Permission to press the advantage." "Granted," Anderson replied. "Tell all Ghost Fleet units. Execute Pattern Chaos 7. Let's show them what human unpredictability really means." The display erupted with new movement as Mitchell's fleet began a series of maneuvers that defied both physics and logic. Ships moving in patterns based on human dreams, combat decisions made by gut feel rather than tactical computers. Enemy installation is launching countermeasures, sensors reported. They're trying to impose mathematical order on local spacetime. Anderson watched as the enemy's desperate attempt to force reality to follow their rules failed against the pure chaos of human combat instinct. Mitchell's fleet slipped through their perfect defenses like water through a net. New energy reading. The alert cut through the command center. The installation's core. "Colonel, I think they're experiencing an emotional response. They're afraid," Anderson realized. For the first time in their existence, they're facing something they can't calculate, can't predict, can't control. The display showed Mitchell's fleet pressing their advantage, their impossible movements creating holes in the enemy's previously impenetrable defenses. Each human pilot adding their own unique quantum signature to the chaos, making the combined effect even more unpredictable. "Colonel," Reeves called out, "Dr. Martinez's theory was right. The enemy's entire system is based on perfect mathematical models and human consciousness. We're like a virus in their code." Anderson nodded, watching as her strategy continued to unravel millions of years of enemy control. "Send word to Earth Command. Tell them Project Uncertainty is a success. The enemy can't fight what they can't predict, and they can't predict what even we don't know we're going to do." The command center erupted in cheers as Mitchell's fleet scored another direct hit on the installation. The enemy's perfect record of victory, maintained for millions of years, was being shattered by 7 ships and their human pilots who refused to follow the rules. Message from Lieutenant Mitchell. Communications announced, unable to keep the grin from their voice. He says, "Colonel, I have no idea what we're doing, but it's working beautifully." Anderson smiled. "Tell him that's exactly the point. Sometimes, the best strategy is having no strategy at all." The display continued to show the battle, where human unpredictability was proving to be the most powerful weapon ever deployed against an enemy that had relied on perfect prediction for far too long. General David Wilson watched the final simulations of Project Wildcard run their course, each one showing the same impossible result: success against all mathematical probability. "Begin the operation," he ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "All units, execute Protocol Quantum 7. Across the combined fleet, human crews initiated a battle strategy that every military AI had labeled as suicidal. Ships began moving in patterns based on human brain activity, their formations following the random spikes and valleys of consciousness rather than traditional combat doctrine. Dr. Alexander Morgan's theory is holding true, his executive officer reported. The enemy's predictive systems are showing signs of complete failure. They can't calculate what human intuition will do next, because even we don't know. The main display showed the enemy installation, its perfect geometric surface, now marred by signs of damage from Lieutenant Mitchell's earlier attack. But more importantly, it showed something no one had ever seen before: fear. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Rachel Hayes called out, "the installation is attempting to rewrite local spacetime again, but our ship's neural-linked drives are creating too many variables. They can't lock down reality when human minds keep changing the constants." Wilson nodded, watching as the impossible battle plan unfolded. "Begin Phase 2. Let's show them why trying to predict human behavior is a fool's game." The fleet shifted, each ship moving according to the random neural patterns of its crew. Some vessels seemed to be in multiple places at once, their quantum states entangled with the consciousness of their human pilots. Energy spike from the installation. Sensors blared. They're trying something new. Sir, they're attempting to access their historical combat database. They're looking for a pattern, Wilson realized, searching through millions of years of warfare for something that can counter human unpredictability. But the database, built on perfect mathematical models and flawless prediction, had no answer for the chaos of human innovation. The enemy's attempts to find a historical solution only created more variables as each human crew reacted differently to their countermeasures. Dr. Morgan was right. Haze-breathed, watching the data streams. Our gut feelings aren't just random. They're quantum fluctuations that the enemy's higher dimensional calculations can't process. The battle continued to unfold in ways that defied both physics and logic. Human ships moving in patterns that shouldn't work, succeeding because no one, not even their own crews, could predict what they would do next. Sir, communications cut in. We're receiving data from the installation. They're trying to communicate. Wilson's eyes narrowed. Put it through. The message that appeared was unlike anything they'd seen before. Not words or images, but pure mathematical concepts. A language of perfect prediction and control. They're offering terms. Dr. Morgan's voice came over the command channel. But more than that, they're expressing something their model said was impossible. They're expressing uncertainty. Send our response, Wilson ordered. Show them what happens when they face an enemy that makes their own rules. The fleet move is one, each ship following patterns generated by human dreams and impulses. The installation's perfect defenses, designed to counter any logical attack, found themselves facing something that had no logic to counter. Multiple detonations inside the installation. Sensors reported. Their own predictive systems are tearing them apart. They can't handle the quantum paradoxes our presence is creating. Wilson watched as millions of years of perfect mathematical control began to crumble in the face of human unpredictability. Send word to Earth Command. Tell them Project Wildcard was a success. The enemy's greatest weakness was thinking everything had to make sense. As the installation's systems continued to fail, Dr. Morgan's voice came through again. General, we've proven something revolutionary here. Human consciousness doesn't just ignore their higher dimensional mathematics, it actively disrupts them. We're not just unpredictable. We're impossible. Wilson smiled as he watched the perfect enemy face something they'd never encountered in millions of years of existence. A species that refused to be bound by the very laws of reality they had taken for granted. Sometimes, he said quietly, the most dangerous thing in the universe is a human being who doesn't know what they're going to do next. Admiral Catherine Bennett stood before the combined leadership of the ancient Concordat and Free Systems Alliance, her uniform bearing the fresh battle scars from recent engagements. The holographic display between them showed the remnants of the enemy installation, still crackling with quantum distortions. Your people have done the impossible. The Concordat's high commander spoke through their translator. You've shattered a power that has manipulated our civilizations since before we reached the stars. And now, the FSA president added, you propose something even more impossible. A united front against what remains of their network. Bennett nodded, pulling up the battle plans that had been labeled Operation Unity. The enemy's power was based on their ability to predict and control. They kept us fighting each other because order through conflict was mathematical, predictable. Major Thomas Reynolds stepped forward, his neural combat interface still glowing faintly. But they never counted on species working together in ways that defied their models, particularly when one of those species specializes in making the impossible possible. The display shifted, showing the combined fleet formations they proposed. Human ships interspersed with both FSA and Concordat vessels, their quantum chaotic signatures creating protective bubbles of unpredictability. Your ships will provide the power, Bennett explained, while ours create the uncertainty that their systems can't handle. Each human crew acts as a random element generator, their consciousness disrupting the enemy's attempts to calculate our movements. And you believe this? Chaos will work against their remaining strongholds. The High Commander's tone mixed doubt with hope. Reynolds gestured to the battle data from their previous engagements. It already has. Every time they try to impose mathematical order on reality, human unpredictability creates quantum paradoxes in their systems. We're not just fighting their weapons, we're fighting their very understanding of how the universe works. The display updated, showing the latest intelligence from the front lines. More enemy installations being discovered, each one a node in their ancient network of control. Their models are already crashing, Bennett continued. For the first time in their existence, they're facing variables they can't quantify. Human intuition, combined with your advanced technology, creates something their perfect mathematics can't process. Both leaders studied the proposed battle plans, their own tactical systems struggling to make sense of the human elements integrated throughout. This is madness, the FSA president said finally. Your ships will be moving based on human brain patterns, while ours provide cover fire. The formations make no logical sense. Exactly, Reynolds smiled. That's why it works. The enemy's entire system is built on logic and prediction. We're offering something new, controlled chaos. Bennett watched as understanding began to dawn in their eyes. We're not just fighting their forces, we're fighting their reality. Every human mind in the fleet adds another layer of quantum uncertainty to our movements. They can't predict what we'll do because even we don't know until we do it. The High Commander's tactical display chimed, finishing its analysis of the proposal. Your plan. It shows a 99% chance of failure according to all known combat doctrines. But those doctrines, Reynolds pointed out, were shaped by the very enemy we're fighting. They've been manipulating our understanding of warfare for millennia. Maybe it's time to try something that makes no sense at all. Bennett stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's determination. We're offering you a chance to break free from their mathematical chains, to fight in ways they can't predict or control. All you have to do is trust in human insanity. The two leaders exchanged looks, centuries of conflict and mistrust hanging between them. Finally, the FSA president spoke. Your species has already proven that impossible is just another word for hasn't been done by humans yet. If you believe this madness will work. We don't believe, Bennett corrected. We know it will work because it makes no sense. And that's something they could never understand. As the combined fleet began to form up, human ships moving in their strange, unpredictable patterns among the ordered formations of their allies, Bennett allowed herself a small smile. The enemy had spent millions of years creating perfect order through mathematical control. Now they would learn why some species were meant to remain gloriously, beautifully chaotic. Commodore William Harrison watched as the combined fleet made its final preparations. Human ships, their quantum drives pulsing with the random patterns of consciousness, wove between the precise formations of their alien allies. The enemy's last stronghold loomed before them, a massive installation that had survived since the dawn of galactic civilization. All units report ready, his executive officer announced. The FSA and Concordat fleets are in position, their ships linked to our quantum network. And Dr. Elizabeth Foster's findings? Harrison asked, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. Confirmed, sir. Her team has proven why humans are different. Our consciousness doesn't just generate random quantum fluctuations. We're actually quantum anomalies ourselves. Our very existence disrupts higher dimensional mathematics. The enemy installation hung before them, its perfect geometric surface marred by signs of desperate reconstruction. Their previous attacks had shaken the ancient intelligence to its core, forcing it to face something it had never encountered in millions of years. uncertainty. Begin the final approach, Harrison ordered. All human ships, initiate consciousness-linked drive patterns. Show them why they should have left Earth alone. The fleet moved as one, yet each human vessel followed its own unpredictable path. The neural interfaces connected each crew to their ship systems, their dreams and impulses creating patterns that defied the very laws of physics the enemy had used to control the galaxy. They're responding, sensors called out. Multiple energy signatures. Sir, they're trying every combat pattern in their database simultaneously. Harrison smiled. Let them try. You can't win a game when your opponent refuses to follow the rules. The space between the fleets erupted with weapon fire, but the human ships were never where they were supposed to be. Each crew member's unique quantum signature added to the chaos, creating a storm of probability that the enemy's perfect calculations couldn't penetrate. Dr. Foster's theory was right, his science officer reported. The enemy's systems are based on higher dimensional mathematics, but human consciousness creates localized points of quantum uncertainty. We're like blind spots in their perfect universe. The battle unfolded like a dance of order and chaos. SSA and Concordat ships provided the power, while human vessels created zones of unpredictability that turned the enemy's own weapons against them. Multiple failures detected in the installation. Communications announced. There, sir, they're trying to communicate again. But this time, it's different. The message that came through wasn't in their perfect mathematical language. Instead, it was a simple question in standard Galactic. Why can't we predict you? Send our response, Harrison commanded. Tell them, because we don't want to be predicted. The installation's surface began to crack, its perfect geometry, unable to handle the quantum paradoxes being generated by the human fleet. Each human mind added its own layer of impossibility to the attack, creating a wave of chaos that their systems couldn't process. Sir, his executive officer called out, all enemy predictive systems are failing. They're perfect mathematical models. They're being overwhelmed by human uncertainty principles. Harrison watched as millions of years of control began to crumble. Send word to all ships. Execute final attack pattern. Let's show the galaxy why freedom is more powerful than perfect prediction. The combined fleet moved in for the kill, human ships leading the charge with movements that shouldn't have been possible. The installation's defenses, designed to counter any logical attack, found themselves facing something that had no logic to counter. As the ancient enemy's last stronghold began to fall, Dr. Foster's voice came through on the command channel. We've proven something remarkable here, Commodore. Humans aren't just random. We're living quantum computers. Our very nature defies the mathematical laws they use to control reality. The installation's core finally breached, its perfect systems unable to handle the beautiful chaos of human unpredictability. As it fell, a new era of galactic history began, one where freedom and uncertainty would replace perfect mathematical control. Sometimes, Harrison said quietly, as he watched the ancient enemy fall, the most beautiful thing in the universe is the power to choose your own path, even if that path makes no sense at all. The galaxy would never be the same, and that perhaps was the greatest victory of all.